The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talkboard TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Arizona. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 16 years we have brought you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, over the years I have learned that there is a health issue. It's called neuropathy. And you don't hear much about it, but there's a lot of people walking around with neuropathy. They've gone to their MD, and their MD said, well, there's just really no cure for this, and you're going to have to just kind of live with it, or they'll give you a prescription drug. And most of the people I've talked to said the drug either didn't work or they had really bad side effects. We found the top neuropathy treatment center. Actually, it's called the Neuropathy Treatment Center of Arizona. Dr. Patrick Sars. Good afternoon, Dr. Sars.
Good afternoon, Steve.
I love doing this show with you, and I'm going to tell you, I have learned so much about neuropathy, but the biggest thing I have learned is there's a lot of people walking around with it that don't even know they have it because they've experienced numbness or tingling or burning, and they just kind of, sloughed it off thinking it would go away. But you have spent a lot of your practice working on neuropathy because was it your mom that had neuropathy?
Yes. Yeah, my mom had started to have some numbness in her feet when I was about 12 years old, and by the time I went to school in my late 20s, my mom was already fully confined to a wheelchair. So it's what sparked my interest in it. And you're right. A lot of people basically blow it off. The problem is it's a progressive disease and it gets worse over time. And that it can get to the point where you can end up with 100% loss of sensation in your feet. And when we get to that point, we're not able to bring it back. That it actually is to the point where we might be able to give you some relief of some of the symptoms, but a lot of that's going to be permanent from that point forward.
Well, you have developed a great practice with Neuropathy Treatment Center of Arizona. Tell people about your practice.
Well, I'm practicing Mesa, Arizona. My treatments, though, are actually done at home, so this works pretty much wherever you'd like to be. I have patients throughout the entire country, some overseas, a lot in Canada. So basically neuropathy is, as I said, a progressive disease, but there are ways to actually stop the progression. And in a lot of instances, and actually in most of them, we can actually reverse the neuropathy to a point where you may know that you have something a little bit wrong with your feet when you stop and think about it. But the rest of the time, you're not really going to give your feet a whole lot of thought or control, and it's not going to interfere with the things that you do in your life.
Dr. Sars, every time I hear about someone, an older person, fell in the bathtub, I think about you and maybe these people, because it does affect your balance. Do you ever get feedback from your patients about falling?
Well, basically what we're trying to do is prevent them from doing that if we can get to it in time. But yes, neuropathy will affect somebody's balance. That what ends up happening with neuropathy is that it affects the sensory nerves, causes the cells at the ends of the nerves to actually start to die off. They go deeper into the tissue. So people might start to feel like they're walking on a sponge or a piece of cardboard. They're not getting the direct feedback as where their feet are actually at. Maybe the better example is that it affects your proprioception, but it'll affect your balance, but it also affects your awareness of where your feet are at. And think about it, though, we don't see this too much on the news anymore, but it used to be that you'd see a few times a year where they saw somebody that drove their car into a building, and what's the first thing that they say is that swore my foot was on the brake.
Yes, yes.
They've lost the proprioception. They don't know where their foot is at. That my mom told the story that one time she was going to go uptown, and she went out and started the car, and the engine raced, and she swore her foot was on the brake. And so she shut the car off and went back in the house and told Dad he needed to take her uptown.
Yeah, it's amazing. But, there's people right now listening to the show, even for the first time, and they're going, how do I know if I might have neuropathy?
Well, the initial signs and symptoms of it generally are numbness, maybe some burning, but here's a real practical way that you can tell. As I said, it affects the sensory nerves. So if you've got a metal-handled knife, what you can do is pull that out, touch your forehead with it, that at room temperature, it'll feel cool to the touch. And then go down and touch your big toe and see if you feel it the same way. When everything is normal, you've got the same nerve endings up in your forehead that you do in your big toe. You should feel everything the same way. If there's a loss of the sensation in your big toe, there's a pretty good indication that you're probably starting to have some neuropathy problems.
We just got a text. I guess they just tuned in. Their question is, can neuropathy actually improve, or is it permanent? And we kind of answered that.
If we can catch it in time, we can actually improve it. That the vast majority, I claim that I have a 98% success rate. And the reason that I claim that I have a 98% success rate is that I actually have a buyback program. My treatments are done at home. It's not covered by insurance. People are actually purchasing the equipment. If they're not better, and they're the only ones that can determine whether or not they are better, within 6 months, I will actually buy the equipment back, less the cost that it cost me to get them recertified at the factory, and there's some supplements that I need to get my costs back. But they get the vast majority of their money back. And so most people aren't going to leave $2,000 sitting on the table if they're not getting anything from it. And because of that, I can tell you that less than 2% of the people in the last 18 months have requested their money back.
Amazing. How long does the treatment they do at home, how long does it last?
Well, the treatment itself, when you're doing it, it's about 20 minutes per limb.
Every day?
Every day, twice a day. And then because it's done at home, and so you understand neuropathy is not curable, we do not have a cure for it. We have a treatment. So this is ongoing. But so during the healing stage, when we're trying to get things back as close to normal as we possibly can, we have you do it two times a day, 5 to 7 days a week. But we'll eventually get to the point where maybe you're doing it 1 to 3 times a week just to maintain it from that point for the rest of your life. So the treatment isn't something you get to do it for so long and then put everything back up on the shelf and go, well, that was a waste of money. You need to keep doing this. Neuropathy is a secondary disease. Something else has caused it. We're not dealing with that cause. We're dealing with a neuropathy. And so because of that, it is an ongoing treatment for the rest of your life or until something new comes down the pike. But there's nothing that I'm aware of at this time.
And you would be aware if there was anything out there. So how long does it take before a person would start noticing a difference?
Generally, most of my patients, I'd say 85% of my patients will notice some improvement within 2 to 3 weeks. Now, the way they'll say it is that I feel like something's changed. But the thing is that with my experience, if those words ever uttered out of their mouth, I know that we're going to get them better. And because it's subtle in the very beginning, but people start to notice a really substantial change within the first 2 months.
Dr. Sars, you notice is it when it comes to demographics, male, female, or age, is there an age or is it more male or more female or about 50-50?
It's about 50-50 as far as male, female. Age, it's around 55 and older, though I have a new patient coming in next Wednesday that's 25 years old. And he has already been previously diagnosed with idiopathic neuropathy. So it's starting to affect younger people that, according to the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, they're talking that there are about 200 different known causes for it. And so the problem is it seems to be affecting younger people as we go along with this. And so that it's kind of disturbing in a way that I was just mentioning that, and part of this is due to the fact of age, but as we get older, time goes a lot faster. But when I started treating neuropathy 18 years ago, all of my patients were quite a bit older than I was. And now most of them are a little bit younger than I am. And it's kind of irritating in a way to the fact that I've actually gotten old.
So we just got two of the same questions from two different people. Is there anything I can do to lessen my chances of developing neuropathy?
Yeah. Some things that you can do basically is watch your diet. That can help. And even if you have neuropathy, watching your carbohydrate intake can diminish some of the symptoms from that particular aspect. Basically, diabetes is the number one cause. 30% of people that have it are diabetic, but 70% of the time it's from something else. A lot of times you're not going to be able to do anything that's going to stop it. Whatever you were exposed to is going to end up causing it. And there's not going to be a lot you can do. But I can tell you that symptomatic wise, if you eat a lot of carbohydrates and you do have neuropathy, it's going to make you feel worse. So you're better off to avoid simple carbohydrates, sugars, pastas, flours, breads and things this way. It'll help from that aspect. If you are right now on the basically pre-diabetic, do the things that you can possibly do to help control your blood sugar, get your A1C back down below 5.5. That is basically diet related. And that can help from that aspect. So you don't get full-fledged neuropathy from there.
Well, we just got a text in. This is a great text. Dr. SARS, I was a patient of yours. You helped my neuropathy when no other doctors could. One of the things I've noticed, though, it seems like it's worse at night or when I'm resting. But I am so much better now, and I'm staying on the procedure. Okay. That's a nice text.
That is. And basically, here's what I'll tell you is the continuous treatment will have eventually get it so that it continues to get better. The reason that it's worse at night, though, is that when we're up and doing things during the day, we have shoes and socks on. We've got normal nerves that are there, and we're stimulating those normal nerves by being on our feet, having our shoes and socks on. And at night, we take those shoes and socks off, and we're not stimulating those normal nerves. So the abnormal ones become a little bit more predominant at that time. And so something that can help, even though living in Arizona, this isn't necessarily the most pleasant thing possibly due to the fact that we end up getting rather warm during the summer, but sleeping with a light pair of socks on can actually stimulate those normal nerves a little bit and override that abnormal sensation.
Wow. This kind of answers this question. He wants to know, is poor circulation or blood flow damaging my nerves?
It could very well be. Neuropathy generally is caused because of something interfering with the ability to get oxygen to the nerve endings. And it causes the cells at the ends of the nerves, because of that loss of oxygen, to start to slough off or die off and go a little bit deeper into the tissue. When people have poor circulation, that's going to decrease the ability to get oxygen into those tissues. Generally, when we're talking from from the neuropathy standpoint of what we're looking at as poor circulation isn't the arterial flow or the venous flow itself. It's more looking at the microcirculation and the capillaries themselves, where we actually have the actual exchange of oxygen and nutrients from the bloodstream into the tissues. And those capillaries can actually become damaged. It's the reason that some people with neuropathy will notice maybe one of the first things is there's some discoloration in their feet, just due to the fact that they might look a little more purple, like they're bruised, have a little bit more swelling. It's due to the fact that those capillaries are starting to break down, and that actually causes a loss of the oxygen being able to get to those nerve endings, and that's where the damage actually starts to come from.
This is from Ken in Scottsdale. Wants to know, why do we hear so much more about neuropathy now? Hasn't it been around forever?
Certainly has, but I will tell you, back 18 years ago when I first started this, it was often misdiagnosed. And so it was not thought to be that prevalent. People that have had it for any amount of time, I will guarantee you that when you went in and told your doctor that your feet were numb, the first question out of their mouth was, "Are you diabetic?" And when you said no, they went, and they had no idea what the heck you actually had. The thing is 70% of people with neuropathy are not diabetic. There are those 200 things that cause it. One of them is diabetes. 199 of the other things are not. And so that's basically what's happened is that the realization that a lot more people actually have neuropathy, and so they're actually doing the tests. So yes, it seems like there's a lot more people, but basically it's just that the education is improved. So now we're aware that more people have neuropathy.
Martha in Phoenix wants to know, how do you know when a patient comes into your office that they do have neuropathy?
We do a test called the Toronto Clinical Scoring System for peripheral neuropathy, and then a couple other things. So we're actually able to determine whether or not this is neuropathy or whether this is something with peripheral artery disease, because that also can actually mimic it. And so we're able to determine whether or not this is something that is neuropathy from the testing that we do. And there are some certain parameters that we run to make sure that what we do is actually going to work. The reason that I have the 98% success rate is that I'm able to determine who I can and who I can't help. And so we're only taking the people that I know that are going to benefit from it. And some people, like I said, less than 2%. I'm wrong, but I try to be as accurate as I possibly can when I make the diagnosis and the recommendations on what we need to do.
I'll take those odds. Here's Michael. Great show. I'm surprised a show like this wasn't on earlier. Michael, we've been doing this for over a year, but that's okay, buddy. Thanks for writing. He wants to know, do you treat ailments that mimic neuropathy?
No. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. My primary emphasis is actually dealing with neuropathy, and it's due to the fact that I have a way to actually stop the neuropathy, reverse the neuropathy, and work from that aspect, and that is what my primary emphasis is. When I start trying to look at trying to treat too many things, what ends up happening is that I become basically looking in too many different directions, trying to do too many things, and I become basically a master of none.
I hear you. How do you know if the treatment plan is right?
Basically, that we have various different things that we do. And some people need everything. Some people just need a few things that we do. Everybody gets basically a custom program. But it's due to the fact that the testing and various different parameters that need to be met to make sure that this is going to work. One of the things that we also do is a simple test, saliva test for a compound called nitric oxide. And people that nitric oxide is a major signaling molecule that we have in our body for the dilation of blood vessels. It's naturally occurring, but wasn't discovered until 92. The Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to discoverers in 98. It was molecule of the year. Basically, nitric oxide helps to control how much oxygen and nutrients actually get into the various tissues. And there are some people that cannot produce nitric oxide no matter what we do. And those people I cannot help. And so basically just a number of different parameters, and everybody's a little bit different on what, who, and what we're going to be able to do. And so the office visit initial is about an hour and a half, so that it gives me the time to actually figure out whether or not what I do is going to be of any benefit to you.
This is from Chris, also in Phoenix. I am visiting in the Phoenix area. I think I have neuropathy, but like you said, a lot of doctors don't understand it. How do you treat a person who lives in a different state?
Well, as I said, my treatment protocol is actually done at home. And so if you're here, come on in, see me for the initial consultation, and then we can set you up. If you're not going to be here that much, you can give me a call later, and we can actually set this up and do it over Zoom. That I send out a testing kit so that we can do this. That I have patients I have actually never met face to face. As I said, I have patients overseas. They didn't come to Phoenix. We just did this all over Zoom. That I sent them out testing kits, or they put together their own depending on where they were at and what they had available. So we're able to actually do the tests to determine whether or not they have the neuropathy, and then we go from there. We do follow-ups and understand that this is a home treatment, but this is not basically you're on your own. That we still have follow-up visits twice a month for the first 3 months, once a month thereafter until we reach a point of stabilization. I'm available by phone 7 days a week from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. My office phone is answered, and outside of office hours, I'm the one that's doing the answering. So I make myself available to my patients so that they get better. And the times I just quoted you are Arizona time. So if you're in New York, don't be calling me at
Yeah, right.
7 o'clock in the morning, New York time.
Yeah. Tell people how they can reach you, Dr. Sars.
Basically, my phone number is 480-556-1358. My website is isneuropathycurable.com. And the answer to that question is no. But there's a lot of information, and we're redoing it a little bit right now. So there's going to be a lot of information on neuropathy there. And so there's a lot of reading involved in that. If you're really interested in trying to find out if you've got neuropathy and how we can fix it, visiting my website is neuropathycurable.com is the way to go. My email is drsarts at AZ Neuropathy Center, and I'm located in Mesa, Arizona on Country Club just south of Baseline.
Very important, folks. Do not let this go. If you have a friend or a family member, even if they're in another state, tell them about Dr. Sars. Dr. Sars, we're so lucky to have you. Dr. Sars is with us every month. We'll see you next month.
All right, Steve. Take care. Be safe.
Patrick. That's Dr. Patrick Sars. Folks, I'm telling you, if you think you or maybe a family member or a friend might have neuropathy, I'm telling you, Dr. Sars, listen, he's going to be honest with you. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back in with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.